Hi, my name is Katie Ziskind. I own Wisdom Within Counseling and Coaching. We specialize in narcissistic abuse as one of our focuses, along with helping couples and individuals in relationships, as well as kids and teens. This video is focusing on narcissistic abuse recovery. If you're looking to get started with one of our specialists, you can book your free phone consultation at wisdomwithinct.com. Now, if you've been raised by narcissistic parents, you often didn't get the emotional coping tools you needed when you were a child to feel stable in relationships now. And when I say stable, you might feel anxious in relationships, you might feel insecure, you might need a lot of reassurance. And you may notice different survival mechanisms that you developed when you were a child dealing with your emotionally neglectful parents and emotionally abusive parents still linger. And these survival mechanisms may not be serving you any longer. So when you have a narcissistic parent, they'll guilt trip you. When you're a child, you're often trying to please your parent. And so when your parent does something wrong, they never take accountability or ownership. They blame you and they push that guilt onto you. So as a child, you may have felt really bad about yourself and had low self-worth and low self-esteem because your parent guilt tripped you all the time, even when it wasn't your fault. And especially when your parent, had a chaotic relationship with someone and that relationship ended, you were to blame. And so part of counseling and coaching after narcissistic abuse from your parents is to really rebuild your self-worth and help you remove any lingering self-blame. Because you may still, in the relationship you may have with your parents, you may still blame yourself. And so being able to let go of that self-blame and step into confidence and self-compassion are some of the tools that we can help you develop. Another element that you have about your personality when you are raised with narcissistic, emotionally abusive parents is that you're a people pleaser. In your childhood, you walked on eggshells. You didn't know what version of your parent you would get. So you might have gotten a really happy parent. You might have gotten a really angry parent. You might have gotten a really withdrawn or numb parent. You may have had a parent who was super affectionate one moment and then the next moment they withdrew affection. So when you have narcissistic parents, they're inconsistent in how they give you love. And so you develop people-pleasing traits, which means that you don't know how to set boundaries. Even when you do try to set a boundary, you really struggle to maintain that boundary. And when you're a people pleaser, you may find yourself in romantic relationships with narcissists because you are so easygoing and you are so flexible. And when you're a child surviving, when you have a parent who has anger issues, pleasing them helps you get through the day. Making sure your parent's happy helps you prevent that next anger episode. And so if your parent's happy, they'll give you that love and affection that you so deeply want as a child and that you so deeply deserve. And so you may have people-pleasing traits as a result of being raised by parents that had narcissistic personality disorder. Another component to when you're raised with parents who have narcissistic personality disorder that counseling and coaching can help you cope with and develop more resilience around is really having a massive inner critic. So when you have a parent with narcissism, they're highly critical. They nitpick you, they find every flaw, they only see the negative in what you're doing. So even if you got an A on a test and you brought your test home, your parent would say, why isn't this an A+? Or you should have studied and gotten that A+. Even if you did really well, that you never got praise. You never got, hey, I'm proud of you. You did awesome. Love was very conditional. When you have emotionally abusive parents, they don't teach you that you're amazing and you're awesome no matter what. They teach you that in order to get love, you have to behave in a certain way and even change something about yourself. So naturally, when you grow up in your adult years, you have a big inner critic. You're constantly criticizing the shape of your body, the way you look. You're really hard on yourself. You may even identify as a perfectionist. When you are raised by emotionally abusive parents, you're constantly tiptoeing around and you feel like you have to be perfect. And part of counseling and coaching for narcissistic abuse recovery is being gentle with yourself and nurturing yourself and really learning anxiety coping mechanisms so that you don't have to beat yourself up emotionally, so that you can really be your own best friend. And reparent yourself in a way that your parents never taught you how to do. You're learning to reparent yourself in a more confident way, in a more courageous way, and really being creative versus, kind of having to be so hard on yourself. So if you have a strong inner critic, this could be a sign that you were raised by narcissistic, emotionally abusive, or emotionally neglectful parents that criticized you and then taught you how to be critical towards yourself. And so now you're kind of working on building confidence and self-acceptance. So if you have narcissistic parents, if you had parents that guilt tripped you, gaslit you, manipulated you, were explosive and angry one moment, and then affectionate the next, or withdrew and withheld love and then were kind, and there were kind of these hot cold moments, we would love to help you here at Wisdom Within Counseling and Coaching. One of our specialties is working with adults who have had narcissistic parents. So this could be a mother, a father, or even a primary caregiver like a grandparent or an aunt or uncle. But you were raised by someone who was very hot and cold, emotionally withdrawn, highly critical of you, guilt tripped you and blamed you even when it was their problem and their issue, never apologized, never took ownership, and someone also that may have even made fun of you for having emotions and having feelings. You felt like you could never be good enough in their eyes, and you may still feel this way to this day. So counseling and coaching can help you develop a sense of positive self-talk where you can say, hey, I feel good enough just the way I am, and I can bring a playful, confident, creative side of myself to life versus kind of feeling anxious and critical of yourself. So you can book your free phone consultation for narcissistic abuse recovery at wisdomwithinct.com. That's wisdomwithinct.com. If you're in the US, you can also give us a call at 860-451-93